Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by my turkey co-host, Gobble Gobble, Ryan.
Remember when we went to go see Old Boy?
Yes.
And
yes.
there was that really uncomfortable interview with Park Chan-wook that Nicholas Remth did.
Nicholas Winding Refn.
Yes, he did it with Park Chan-wook, and he did it with like little shorts on.
He had really little shorts, yeah.
Tiny little shorts, like to the middle of his thighs, and
could have been shorter.
I don't know. I think like Park Chan-wook's just like looking at him, just trying to be like, look, I'm trying to remember this film that I made back in like 2002. It's been 20 something years or something since it was released. I think that's what it was. It was like 20-year release, and they re-released it in cinemas, and we saw it, and we got that treat at the end of it.
Well, we only have to wait 4 more years for a 20-year anniversary of this 2008 biographical ? Prison drama Bronson.
Yeah.
I love this movie. This movie stars Tom Hardy as Michael Gordon Peterson / Charles Bronson. Matt King is also in this movie.
/ Charles Salvador, as he also likes to be go by now.
Oh, yeah, because he loves Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
He's an artist.
Yeah, he is an artist. He's got like over 10,000 different pieces of art that he's made since he's become a born-again artist.
He has a lot of time on his hands.
He definitely does. When he's not kicking someone's cunt in, he's doing a painting. He's doing a piece of art.
I'm going to throw the synopsis at you.
Yes.
And then we'll get into Nicholas and his little shorts.
Yep.
The synopsis pulled from Letterboxd for Bronson is: a young man who was sentenced to 7 years in prison for robbing a post office ends up spending 30 years in solitary confinement. During this time, his own personality is supplanted by his alter ego, Charles Bronson. And the tagline is, the man, the myth, the celebrity.
Okay.
It's a weird synopsis because I feel like I don't know. I don't know.
It's a weird synopsis because it blames the system for basically creating him. But what the system did was it kind of nurtured his underlying, like his deep down like behavior.
Yeah.
Because he just like he says it in the movie, and he definitely says it in his books, like anything that's like describing his life, is that he was brought up well. He just didn't. It was just in his nature. Like it was just in his nature to behave this way.
To punch.
Pretty much. Like the guy liked to scrap. Like that's the thing. And he was he robbed the post office. He did this. He got into crime. And I don't know like how you get into crime, or at least kind of you either get into crime for a couple of reasons. One, because your behavior predicates that's the sort of line of what you want to do, or you feel disenfranchised, because certainly during the 70s in the UK there was a lot of that going on.
I mean, maybe also for friendship.
Potentially, you end up with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
And the other reason is obviously to pay for your habits, say like drugs or whatever. But yeah, he's an interesting and fascinating individual. He is still alive. He is currently, as of last year, he is currently looking for at least a date for his release, or at least for parole.
He is one of the most famous prisoners in the UK. And yeah. I don't know if his story traveled that far. I didn't know who he was until I watched this film.
Yeah, I think I knew of the man from the papers, because he would be in the papers periodically. Because he's written tons of books. He has a fucking fitness book. To basically tell you, is like, well, I've been in solitary confinement. I can still work out. So can you. That sort of thing. And also, obviously, the art is the thing that kind of piqued my interest. I find that stuff to be fascinating. And obviously, he comes from a long line of criminals who've tried to profit at least from having some sort of creative outlet. Like John Wayne Gacy did paintings that were basically of Disney characters. And he would try and sell them. But again, like I think there's a moral and there's an ethical ground there where it's like you can't really find their artwork anywhere. Like there's you can Google it and it's there, but you can't find like compilations and stuff because while those individuals alive or dead, you don't want anyone profiting from people who are known to be either a killer or a violent criminal, which is what Michael Pearson is.
That's true.
So that's the thing. But he is fascinating. I liken him a lot to Mark Reed. Mark Chopper Reed, if anyone's kind of familiar with that. And obviously there's the film adaptation of Chopper where Eric Bana plays Mark Reed, who effectively became a celebrity again based on the fact that he was a gangster and he committed a lot of violent crimes himself, and he kind of captured the spirit, the psyche, like the zeitgeist of people at the time, as he was quite a big personality. And I think the same kind of goes for for Charlie Bronson as well.
Do you want to tell us about Nicholas Winding Refn?
Yes.
Whose filmography it's interesting. And there's a lot I need to watch still. I didn't realize. Not as caught up as I thought I was. Yeah,
there's a couple of outliers. I've seen most of them. And most of them I like. Certainly we could watch the Pusher trilogy again. Because I've seen that and I have those films on DVD. And a lot of his films I do enjoy. But yeah, there's a handful that I haven't seen. I think a lot of the things that I haven't seen have kind of been down to choice. But he's not. There's not a huge amount of stuff there anyway. But Nicholas Winding Refn is a Danish director, screenwriter, and producer. Couple of little fun facts here. He has color blindness. He can't see mid colors. So certainly if you look at his films and you see how they are colored and shot in very particular ways, that's probably due to the fact that he is reacting to his color blindness, which I think is quite interesting. He's also an individual. How like I've seen him more. If anyone follows Hideo Kojima, the Metal Gear Solid guy, who's now kind of traveled more and more into his weird world of obscurity with some of his more recent games and stuff like that. He's a friend of Nicholas Refn's. So yeah, he's a little bit of a star fucker, it looks like. But yeah, you see him with photos with him all the time. And also, when you see that, he's also in some of his video games as well, I think, playing characters, because he's acted small roles before. He likes to shoot films in chronological order, and the only reasoning I could get to it was that he thought it was cool because John Cassavetes did it. And I think Cassavetes, there's a feeling like there's a reason why that happens, is that, but certainly with John Cassavetes stuff, it's all very dramatic and people are living in the life and it's very true to life. So life is in chronological order. So when drama happens, it's happening naturally, but over the course of the story. But yeah, at least Refn's at least tried to do that with, to a point, 90 to, 100%. Even his more recent films, he's even tried to do that. But yeah, whether you see the difference or not, I'm not too sure.
Oh dear. I feel like you've been talking through a burp for the last 4 minutes.
I think I just don't know. Anyway, I think, I'm alive again. He cites Texas Chainsaw Massacre as an influence, and I think the only thing that I kind of bleed into question here is that he dedicated Only God Forgives to Alejandro Jodorowsky, which I find kind of odd, but Yeah, he does like Jodorowsky's stuff as well.
Yeah, he
So
was in that Dune documentary.
yeah, and I think I think as a creative individual, I think Jodorowsky's interesting. As for his behaviors, I don't know if I can fully agree with some of the things that he's done there. But anyway, in terms of his films, Refn's got Pusher in '96, Bleeder in '99, Fear X from 2003, Pusher 2, 2004, Pusher 3 from 2005, then Bronson in 2008, Valhalla Rising 2009, Drive 2011, Only God Forgives 2013, and The Neon Demon from 2016. He's done a bunch of TV as well. So basically, after Neon Demon, you have Too Old to Die Young, which was in 2019, Copenhagen Cowboy, which came out last year, and also Famous Five that came out last year. And the thing is what I found quite interesting is he also directs segments for Agatha Christie's Marple, like that TV show from back in the day as well. So that was interesting. But yeah, that covers Nicholas Refn.
He was kind of working on Valhalla and Bronson at the same time.
Right,
so like he would kind of go back and forth, and a lot of the same crew from Valhalla would be on Bronson, vice versa.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen is quite a big. He's quite a big. He's a big name now, but certainly he got his start in films with Nicholas Refn because Mads Mikkelsen's in the Pusher films.
Sure is. And Valhalla.
And Valhalla Rising. Obviously now that Nicholas has kind of gotten a little bit more famous, he's got, Ryan Gosling to kind of lean on. But I will say, other than Drive, which I still enjoy, even though it's kind of been taken by the Sigma male crowd, Only God Forgives, I think, is a work of fucking genius. And I feel like I'm there with maybe a handful of other people. And that's about it, really.
I don't remember loving it. I think I was bored, but the colors are nice. He's good at colors.
He's very good at colors, even though he can't see most of them. Yeah.
Charles Bronson, birth name Michael Gordon Peterson. We've gone over that. He's been dubbed Britain's most violent prisoner. He was first incarcerated in 1974 for armed robbery, and they stayed in prison until 1987 because of his attacks on guards and other prisoners, as you see in the film.
Yeah.
When he was released, he adopted the name Charles Bronson after the actor during his bare-knuckle boxing days, but he was sent right back to prison within 3 months of his release after he was convicted of another robbery. But he stayed in jail just because he keeps on attacking the guards. And it seems like a lot of these things he's doing just out of boredom to me. Pretty much, he's been assigned to all 3 different psychiatric hospitals in England because they didn't know what to do with him.
Yes, no. I mean that he was a mainstay in the British papers for a very, very, very long time. I think there's actual real footage of the riot that happened at Broadmoor that's in the film, which I like it's like, yeah, that shows to me that there was budget restraints, but it's actually funnier that way by showing the riot at Broadmoor. But yeah, no, I think the system didn't know what to do with Charlie Bronson, and then they put him in the loony bin, as it were.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't really dealt with anybody like this before. Then that's not to say that, like, the UK was not accustomed to, violent criminals and gangsters, and then obviously serial killers and things like that. But for the most part, when you incarcerate them, they cause you little to no grief because they're put behind bars. Charlie Bronson is what I would refer to as a menace. An absolute menace.
The crimes for which he is incarcerated are crimes against guards that he committed in prison.
Yeah.
He's never killed a man or a human being.
No.
And the crimes that he committed outside of prison were just robberies.
Yeah.
So he's a violent criminal, but he wasn't a violent he never got caught being a violent criminal necessarily outside of jail. He's a weird case.
Well, the thing is that he got his life sentence after he abducted, he kidnapped that teacher that you also see in the movie. because he did have a habit of abducting and kidnapping guards and holding people hostage to instigate violent outbursts, basically. And all that stuff is true, but yeah, he got his life sentence purely based on that final abduction, so to speak, of the art teacher that you also see in the film.
That part's so good.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. I don't know if I find this film as funny as maybe some of you guys do.
I don't know if I find it funny. I do find some parts very funny.
Yeah.
But I just find it incredibly interesting, and I think the film is so well done that I just like it.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting, and it is a slight against the UK prison system, because it's just like it's not geared towards dealing with people like this, because Charlie Bronson is not looking to be reformed. Like, there's no part of him that's like, I'm like, look, I've learned my lesson, I'm gonna do that. It feels like he accidentally stumbles into writing books. He accidentally stumbles into doing artwork, and it's like an outlet for his the misery that he keeps kind of bottled up. But then, yeah, he does like a scrap. He does like to fight. So, it's kind of he is an interesting person to a certain degree. Certainly, criminologists and stuff would study a man like Charlie Bronson to kind of get into the mindset of what he's going through and what he's trying to do. But yeah, I don't think there's any level of me that's like sympathetic towards him either, because I don't think the film does that either.
No, and they said over and over again, Tom Hardy and Nicholas Refn said over and over again that this isn't a free Charlie movie.
Yeah.
This is just a kind of a character study.
There's definitely that movement. That movement exists even to this day.
To free him or to free prisoners in general?
To free Charlie Bronson.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is down to either people who are far too young to have even read the huge amount is that. I mean, they look at someone who's a creative force now, because he is again, in his own words, he's a born again artist, and like I said, as of last year, he was looking to get parole. He's now 70 as of last year, so
wow.
Yeah, the mainstay was that he was gonna die in prison. Basically, they weren't going to let him out. So I don't know what's happening with his case now.
Well, we should look it up.
Yes.
So Charles Bronson had a few people involved in the production. Some of his family, some of his close friends would be there to try, because he's a strong-headed man, and he wanted to make sure that he was done right.
Yeah, of course.
And his friend Mark was on set every day to make sure of just that. And Charles Bronson would call Mark 3 times a week to make sure that everything was on track. He didn't like the initial idea of Tom Hardy playing him until after he met him, because he goes, how's he going to get big? And then he was impressed of how Tom Hardy was able to transform his body to look like him.
Yeah.
There was about a 3-year buildup before Tom Hardy actually got to meet Charles Bronson in prison, though, because they talked on the phone quite a bit. But Tom Hardy remarked on how going to prison to meet him felt so pedestrian. He said it was like going into a municipal building. He thought it was going to be so much more different. But the first thing that he noticed when he saw Bronson was he was so white, he was like blue. Like a fish that had been under the water for so long and had never seen the sun.
Yeah, so that's also the reason because people comment on Bronson's look, the small sunglasses. It looks a little bit like Dr. Robotnik's. He's got bald head and he got the mustache and stuff. But the reason he has those sunglasses is that he spent so long in solitary, he barely saw the sun. So now that his eyes, when they see the sun, it flares out. So those are prescription sunglasses.
Yeah.
To help him go outside and see the sun. Pretty much, yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
There were a few people that were in talks for the Bronson role, but it was really, really important to have someone. The movie lies on the shoulders of that main character. So you have to have someone that can really encapsulate Bronson. Jason Statham was one of the first people to be approached and was offered the role, but he turned it down. He wanted to do a prison movie. He was excited about doing a prison movie, which he eventually got to do, no worries.
Yeah,
but
of course.
The nude scenes got him. He's like, I don't know about that. Another person who was approached was Guy Pearce. Same thing. Tom Hardy was considered quite early, but they kind of put it on the back burner and then came back to him eventually. So, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I can't see anybody else other than Tom Hardy playing this role. Also, I think Tom Hardy, as much as like we were discussing it off podcast, but Tom Hardy he's also a fighter. He's a trained professional fighter.
He does jujitsu.
He does jujitsu. He also performs obviously his own stunts and things. He did a lot of that stuff for Warrior. He has an air about him that makes him quite intimidating. And I think that's something that just underlying with Tom Hardy would have just made him good for the role. Just because. And I think this is his probably in my opinion, this is like career best. I don't know if he'll ever do anything better than Bronson. And I don't know if he'd made anything better before Bronson. Bronson to me is like career best. This is like his Chopper, basically. And I'm going to make a lot of like references to Chopper because I think they're very similar. I prefer Chopper over Bronson, but they are very, very similar in the way that they're told and structurally how they're laid out. So,
in a fight between Bronson and Chopper, Bronson's going to win for me because Eric Bana wouldn't take his wiener out. So, boo.
I mean, that's fine.
Big boo.
But then Chopper would just shoot him. Like that's
well, Bronson's not a killer, okay?
No, well, Mark Chopper Reed is definitely a killer to the point where like he was owning up to murders that the cops were like, "You didn't commit this murder."
Well, I think that says something a little bit different about him.
Yeah.
Well, Tom Hardy had a fascination with Charles Bronson, as I'm sure a lot of people did growing up in the UK. And he was incredibly intimidated when he met him. He was wondering, am I good enough? Should I even be here? He didn't want to shake his hand, but he knew if he didn't, he'd be in big trouble. And it ended up working out really well, but he said he was absolutely just he just was intimidated, super intimidated when he met him because he's got those big old arms.
Yeah.
And he's such an imposing presence.
Yeah.
That he was like, I don't know if I can do this, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, anyone would feel slight. I mean, he was Britain's most violent prisoner for a reason, you know?
Yeah.
He's beating the shit out of everybody, you know? And he was a pit fighter for a long time. It's, I think it would be intimidating. I was interested to hear if Tom Hardy met Bronson, because there's weird like interview segments in the special edition of Chopper where it's Eric Bana and Andrew Dominic in the real Mark Reed's like trailer, and it's like kind of weirdly shot. It's like the camera's been hidden and they're just like sitting there talking about things that happened and stuff like that. So
Nicholas Refn didn't meet Charles Bronson. But Tom Hardy did.
Okay. Yeah.
Nicholas Refn didn't care. Like it wasn't about, he didn't have any affinity for the story necessarily. He was like, how can I tell this story better? Because when he got this script, he said it wasn't good. Someone gave him the script. He's like, I like the idea of this. He goes, I don't know who this Charles Bronson is, but I think I can work with this. And at the point that he got that script, he was trying to stay away from violent men in film because he had done so many up to that point. But there was something in this particular story that intrigued him. And he rewrote the script with the help of Tom Hardy and Kelly Marcel. Kelly Marcel, who, if you remember, just directed her first feature, Venom, The Last Dance.
Oh, fuck.
But she helped, because she and Tom Hardy are old friends, she helped with the rewrites with the director.
Right, yeah, that's interesting.
Thank you.
Because that Venom script is fucking terrible.
It's so bad, but man, is
awful.
It good.
It's very funny, but not for the reasons that it should be funny.
Yeah.
It's because it's fucking awful.
I love those Venom movies. They are bad. It's so great.
Yeah. We saw The Last Dance the other night.
It's Tom's giving.
It's Tom's giving. He is giving. He's maybe giving too much. Maybe a little too much.
In this film?
I have to laugh. You say, like, Nicholas is wanting to stay away from films with, like, violent men in them. But, like, he does drive Valhalla Rising, Only God Forgives, and The Neon Demon. And I'm like, well, hold on. He obviously didn't learn his lesson.
No.
Yeah, so, okay.
You write what you know. You direct what you know.
That's true. That's true.
If you notice, the music of the Pet Shop Boys in this film is quite prominent in one of the big scenes of this film. That was the background music that Nicholas was listening to when he was writing the film.
Oh. I mean, it would be a sin not to.
It is a sin. Yeah. Ha ha ha. And another bit of inspiration for this film was the 1963 film Scorpio Rising by Kenneth Anger.
Oh, okay.
Right. Kenneth Anger. I'm just kidding. I watched that film today, and it's great. And I just opened up a brand new thing that I didn't know existed. A bunch of leather boys and motorcycles. You know I like the leather boys. No?
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Tom of Finland. Half of this film was reshoots.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He would film something, for example, the last scene of the film, or the last main scene with the art teacher.
Uh-huh.
They filmed it. He did not like it. He rewrote it from scratch that night, refilmed it the next day.
Okay.
So although they did film it chronologically, he also refilmed the whole, like, half of the film.
Right, okay.
Which is wild on their budget. They had £600,000 budget.
Okay.
So under $1 million.
Yep.
And to be able to do what they did on that budget is pretty great.
Yeah.
And to have the caliber of crew and cast that they had is pretty cool too.
Yeah. No, I mean that is pretty cool. That kind of throws into judgment his interest in shooting things in chronological order though. It's kind of just
That's fair.
It's like but it doesn't really make any sense if you then just go back to reshoot it again. It's kind of like, it's meant to be like a one and done sort of idea. Is that if you do it in chronological order,
I'm jumping back to like the crew. The DP on this film also worked with Kubrick, and there's a lot of Kubrick kind of nods in the film as well. And did you have something? Go on.
Well, that's a Refn thing, I think.
Yeah,
like you can tell that there's a. What's the word I would use? Like a vacancy to some of the way that he shoots certain things. Is that kind of like Kubrick? There's like a vacancy to the characters where it's kind of I wouldn't like to say that things are empty, but like characters themselves are like in state in like some of those frames in those movies, where they're looking directly down their lens, or they're in a kind of, they have like a vacant look on themselves where they're kind of like, you think they're in thought. So that's kind of, I would liken that sort of thing to like what Refn does with some of his films.
He also, Refn said, if you're going to steal from the best. And I think it's true. Why not?
Yeah, it's slightly more palatable than like what Tarantino says, where he's like, just steal. That's all it is just stealing. And it's like, okay. I was like, yeah, no worries. I was like, yeah, it only worked out twice for you, Sunshine, so that's fine.
Yeah. Another great person that they got on the cruise, Julian Spencer, who was the stunt coordinator, who also happened to be the stunt coordinator on Eastern Promises, if we remember a very special naked fight scene in Eastern Promises.
Yeah.
That scene inspired Nicholas to hire him for this one because he goes, I love the bathhouse scene.
Yeah.
I want something like that. Hence,
Okay.
we've got some amazing fight scenes where, you know, your bare knuckle boxing scenes. I mean, the whole movie is not the whole movie, but got a lot of fighting. Got some naked fighting, quite a bit of naked fighting.
Yeah. Lubing yourself up with butter. Make yourself slippery.
He double and tripled down on the naked fighting in this.
Yes, there's a lot of naked fighting. I mean, to be fair, that's where predominantly the dick scenes are in these movies. Is a lot of it's the preamble stripping off before the naked fighting, and then the naked fighting. Yeah, no, I think he has there is a stacked crew to this movie, which is kind of very interesting because it's like. Yeah, because no one thought, I don't know if anyone really had high hopes for this thing, at all at any point, you know?
Yeah.
I think it just kind of, I don't know if the film did well. I'm sure you'll tell me that.
I will.
It did, it kind of, to me, personally, I felt like it kind of flew a little bit under the radar because I didn't even see it in cinemas at all, so.
No.
Yeah, so.
You would have had a better chance to see it than me.
Yeah, well, it would have been out in the UK. I mean, it feels like, to me, other than the Pusher films, Refn didn't really come into his own. Personally, for me, in terms of, within the mainstream, within, I had, a steady gaze on him until Drive in, 2011. Because Drive was a bit of a phenomenon when it came out. And then I think that's where it was let's look at this guy's other stuff, you know. And then that's when he gets to make crazy things like The Neon Demon and Only God Forgives and stuff like that for the streaming platform. So, you know.
Yeah, this film definitely pushed Tom Hardy into another arena.
A sphere.
Another sphere.
Another sphere. You shut the fuck up, you cunt. I was like, oh.
Speaking of fuck, apparently instead of saying action, Nicholas says, let's fuck.
Okay.
Which is why in the film, do you remember when he meets, or when he sees Matt King at that bar?
Yeah.
And he's like, do you fuck? Let's fuck.
Okay.
That's just a nod to Nicholas and his...
Oh, yeah, super hands.
Super hands.
Yeah, super hands when
we see super hands at the club.
Yeah. He's like boxing manager. Yeah, no, it's crack. It's really Moorish. Yeah, no.
We'll do a Peep Show podcast one day.
We should do a Peep Show podcast at one point. Just from that show is easily one of the best things that's ever been made. But yes, he shows up. There's some notable UK names and stuff in this film that kind of fly into even Bronson's mother is in it, and she was a staple for British TV for a very, very long time.
Amanda Burton.
Yeah, very, very famous TV star Amanda Burton.
Yeah, James Lance also, who's the art teacher.
Yeah,
but he was in a lot of Steve Coogan stuff.
Yeah, he's also in a bunch of sitcom-y things as well.
Alan Partridge and Saxondale.
Yeah, fucking
that's
tons
where
of
I know
stuff.
him.
Yeah.
Speaking of great, let's jump into penis scene number 1. We have 3.
We have 3? I thought we only had 2.
Well, I didn't notice this one. It's in the very beginning. It's the very opening of the film. Huh. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds into the film.
Did not notice this, no.
So...
I mean, it's a fight, though.
It's before.
It's right just before the fight.
Which I think it's the beginning of the film is the end of the film because he's all painted black still and he's really bloody in the very beginning. Red lights, he's in a cage and he gets the shit beat out of him by the guards.
Well, the film opens with a montage of some of the select shots kind of that those vacant shots that kind of permeate the film at like certain points in this man's story, basically. And that's one of them.
Yeah, and also the first line of the film, "My name's Charles Bronson. And all my life I've wanted to be famous."
Yeah.
That was the last thing they shot on the last day. He wrote it. Nicholas Refn wrote that on the last day. He goes, "I think I need something."
Okay.
Because he goes, "It's all about fame and what you'll do for fame and what fame does to you."
Mm-hmm.
And so he wrote that, and that's the first line of the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, this scene that I'm talking about, he's obviously in prison. He's pacing in his kind of cell. He's airboxing, and then he's like doing push-ups and stuff with the red lights.
Yeah.
And that's when the guards come in and they turn on the lights. And he's only wearing sneakers, covered in blood, but he's naked.
Yeah.
But I think that this is just a foreshadowing of the end of the film.
Yeah. That's pretty much it's pretty much what happens. Because he's all in black. But all of those moments. Yeah, I watched the film on my phone, so it would have been very easy for me to not see that, because the minute you watch it on our 75-inch TV, like, everything becomes clear.
Why do you mention that every time?
I know, well,
You're really proud of it?
I'm so impressed by how big it is.
We spend money on the things that are important to us.
Yes, we do.
Like Taco Bell and television.
And a big fucking TV to eat Taco Bell in front of.
Hooray!
Yeah. So let's move on to the next one.
Oh, you want to move on to the next one? I was going to talk about the guy who poops in his hand, but that's cool.
Yeah, I felt like I was back in San Francisco.
Exactly. Well, I mean, sure. I mean, we can jump right to it. It's an hour further in.
Also, it's gonna be difficult for us to really like hammer down the through line for Bronson anyway. I think it's something that is more of an experience for us explaining it. I think it's kind of null and void.
We definitely explain what the film's about, and so fighting prison guards and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Which is ironically what this next scene is. Is all
As
about.
Is the last one. So this one comes in at an hour, 4 minutes, and about 41 seconds, and I just wrote butter really big. Butter.
Well, this is the one with Andy Love, right? The librarian who comes
librarian.
at
people just being so nice to him, and he's like, you know what? I feel like fucking someone up right now, which he doesn't fight the librarian guard.
No, you would.
But he does make him.
It is scary.
Put butter on his butt.
It is scary. He's like, quicker.
He's like, not in my butt, on my butt.
My butt, you homo.
So he holds the prison librarian hostage, and he doesn't know what he wants. He just is like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
You know, the prison boss calls him. He's like, what do you want? And he goes, what do you got? He goes, it's really kind of up to you. And he goes, well, and he gets all angry.
Yeah, he's like, fuck it. Well, that's the thing. Is like that's kind of the tragedy of
he doesn't
him,
want anything.
like as a person. Yeah, because it's just like he's a creature of habit, and this is his habit, and it's like he just can't stop himself from doing it. And it's just about antagonizing the forces around him. So for me, like, I find that conversation to be a little bit, like, it's quite sad. Like, he's just on the phone and he's just like, well, yeah, no, it's literally up to you, like, what you want. And he doesn't know what he wants. And there's been certain points over the course of the story where it's just like, he's been referred to as like, he's not very ambitious. Like, he doesn't have any goals in life. Like, he doesn't have something that, like, motivates him to propel himself forward, because most of us have like something that drives us, that's our passion and things, and for him it's like this mechanical need to I guess like just generate chaos and just obliterate everything in his path, like just be a a model of destruction and just breaking things down. And that's kind of what drives him.
You're absolutely right, though. That motif or that idea of ambition and
Yeah.
need really does kind of go through the whole film, because the girl that he wants to propose to, who's already engaged to someone else, she's like, you don't have any ambition. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
The prison guard asking, what do you want? And he just doesn't really have an answer. At
Which
the
is-
very end as
yeah.
well, the art teacher is like, I know what you want. And he goes, how the fuck do you know what I want?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like the whole premise of the film is that he just wants to be famous. But famous for what? We're not 100% sure. And I think it's purely because he doesn't even know. You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the beginning of Goodfellas, you know, where Henry just says, "Oh, ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a gangster."
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's a choice, like that's something that you can aspire to be, but it's not like yeah, I think those two ideas are very similar, where it's kind of just like, yeah, but it's not a healthy it's not a healthy choice that you are making. It's
yeah,
like,
how are you going to do it? Like, how are you going to be famous? What
Yeah.
kind of gangster are you going to be? Like,
Yes.
what are you going to do to achieve that goal?
and it's like, I'm a gangster because I get treated like a movie star. And it's like, well, then become a movie star. Like, you don't have to do the criminal element to maintain a level of like what justifies you and what defines you as a person, which I find fascinating in Bronson, because he just doesn't know. All he is that he loves the fact that he's like the most violent prisoner in the UK, and he likes the attention that it brings. And I think that's also another reason why he does the books, and he likes to write about himself. He likes to talk about himself, which is similarly the same thing with Mark Chopper Reed as well, is that he loved the attention that it gave him, albeit negative attention that it gave him. So for me, like, that to me is like, it's a kind of crucial element in that scene that kind of permeates the rest of the film, is that like he kind of just, he's not really doing it for any reason other than he's just doing it, basically.
This butter scene is really great. I know we're still on the butter scene,
Yeah.
but the librarian is told to sit down, and he's trying to figure out what to do. And then he decides, you know what? When he knows that the prison guards are going to come, because he's definitely taken this dude hostage,
Yeah.
he's like, all right, takes off his tank top, takes off his trousers, gets fully naked, which I cannot even imagine how terrifying that would be for a prison guard.
Yeah.
To just be locked in a room with your most violent inmate who's
Yeah.
just stripped naked in front of you.
Yes.
You're like,
yes.
oh no, because there's a lot of homoerotic themes running through the film, but that has to be there because it is a prison film for the most part.
Yeah.
So that happens in prison. Luckily for this guy, it doesn't happen for him. That doesn't happen at all in the movie at all.
No,
But-
and also kind of the point out is like there's homoerotic undertones in the film, and there are definitely characters that are more out of the closet than in it. But certainly, I would not say by any way, shape, or form that Bronson is gay. I would also kind of point out that would be like a massive insult to him, because he also points out during this scene as well. So
Yes, of course. He makes that very clear.
yeah, he does. He's like, don't you dare put that in my arse.
Yeah. But yeah, this scene is great because he I think he calls it his body armor. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He calls the
'cause-
butter his body armor, and
Yeah.
he puts it all over him. He gets the guard to put it all over him. Again, like you said, quicker.
It's to make
And-
him slipperier. Like, he makes him
course.
slippery for when they all come in and they rush in, he can like get an arm out so he can like swing a fist and stuff like that. Yeah, because it's like, well, there's this moment where, you know, he covers himself in a substance that makes him a little bit slippier, but for me it's like his war paint.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, no, this is it. I'm ready to fuck some shit up, and he's putting on his war paint. But yeah, we see, like, obviously pertaining to this scene in particular, we see the entire process, and then, for the most part, it's all in a pretty, wide mid shot. I think they do their best with the lenses that they have because, yeah, I don't think these rooms are set so much as they are actual cells that they are shooting in, and Refn does like to use very short, wide lenses for his films.
They didn't get to shoot in an actual prison or anything. So
Yeah.
some of these rooms are sets made of cardboard,
Oh,
but
okay.
this one is not.
Okay, cool. Well, you can tell because there's certain elements, there's certain scenes, like there's a lot of shots of, say, Tom Hardy pacing in his cell and stuff like that, and you can tell from the way that the frame itself is warped that they're using a really, really, really short lens. So,
What? I'm trying to remember the part where they said that they used cardboard and they made sure not to shoot so you could see the ceiling. They avoided showing the ceiling. I think it was the scene where he is in like he's bonded up and he's got that kind of like belt gag in his mouth.
okay,
I wasn't sure if it was right after the butter or right after the very final scene.
that's after the butter.
After the butter. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
just after this. So yeah, that they made sure not to show the ceiling because it was like there was no ceiling.
Yeah, okay,
So.
I see. Yeah, because I don't know if a lot of those locations would probably still exist. Also, they're kind of slightly nightmarish. Those prisons, they sort of look like Jacob's Ladders, like incarnation of hell, sort of like sort of prison locations. So,
Yeah. Well, we get to this point where Bronson's kind of found himself in prison. He's calmed down quite a bit and found his place in the art room.
yes,
And he's drawing. He has a really flamboyant art instructor who's learning Espanol, who is incredibly irritating, but he seems to be okay with it.
yeah,
Because he's doing what he likes to do, and he's kind of found a place of zen for himself.
I guess, yeah, but I think for me, at least the way that I saw it, because if you look at his artwork's like they're like cries for help. Like they're very
I could say the same for yours, Ryan.
They're very vocal. I would say, yeah. Don't throw me under the fucking.
It's not
bus.
a bus; it's an observation.
Yeah, but I do think that like they are kind of more cries for help than they are for like attention. And I do find his work to be fascinating. I'm into like that sort of graphic illustration style, and it's. They say like he uses like pencils and crayons and stuff like that. So it's odd to have that kind of childlike style to something that's then juxtaposed to like the darkness of like an adult prison environment, which
Right.
is super fucked. But yeah, his artwork is definitely interesting, and I think if you read too much into it, you kind of just like you're getting an eyeful into that man's psyche as well.
So this scene happens at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and about 50 seconds, 50. And
5-0.
oh,
The
be
police
careful.
are here.
Lock the doors.
Yeah.
So Bronson has found out that his beloved art program might be defunded and they're not going to have it anymore. And it is really, really, really important to him. And he has his art teacher saying, you're going to get out of here. We're going to find a way for you to get out of here. You're so talented. You're so clever. You're so good. And he's getting a little bit too informal, I think, for Bronson's taste. And he's getting a little angry at the fact that he's not going to be able to spend his time doing what he enjoys doing. And this is when the art teacher is making assumptions about what he might want. Like, what is his ultimate goal? And that's when Bronson goes, how do you know about what I fucking want?
Yes.
And it all crumbles into insanity and chaos at this moment where essentially Bronson creates art from his teacher.
Yes.
He creates essentially like a Magritte painting. You've seen that famous painting with the apple in the mouth and little hat.
Oh, I know, I'm cultured. I put down Rennie Magritte in my notes.
Wonderful. We got that. And I'm not an artist. I wouldn't consider myself an artist, but you work and work and you change things until you get it quite perfect. So he's working on making his art teacher look just perfect while Bronson has stripped completely naked and has painted himself fully black. I don't know what he used. I doubt they had shoe polish down there. He just probably used whatever they had down there.
Probably just paint or whatever.
And as soon as he is done making his art teacher look just exactly how he wants, and he admires his work, he's like, all right, I'm done. Get in here. Get this guy out of here because he's tied up. And they, by the way, had him, the actor, tied up really tight. Because when they had him tied up initially, Refn's like, it's not tight enough. You can tell that it's loose. He doesn't look uncomfortable. He has to look uncomfortable.
Okay.
So you can see how tight it is in that shot. I mean, he's really cinched in there.
Yeah.
So he calls the guards to come down and release the dear art teacher. And this is when the final battle, the naked in black paint battle ensues with him and the guards.
Yeah. Because this is also, like, in terms of the way the story is and the true to life, this is the moment in his life where, he's not getting out of prison now. Like, this is it. Like, that window is effectively closed because of this moment in his life, basically.
Yeah.
So
they shot this scene in slow-mo, as you can tell, to kind of elevate the feelings of it all with the music in the back, the classical music.
There is a lot of that in this film where there's a lot more focus on, like, the soundtrack to visual companionship, basically. And obviously that's again, like, citing Scorsese. Like, this is kind of where Refn kind of brings it into his own. I feel like this is where we start to see what effectively the modern Refn take is going to be.
The scene is long and slow and really beautiful and strange.
It's balletic, I would guess. It's balletic. It's comedic. It's aggressive. It's violent
sad too.
It's a little sad, yeah, because this is, like, again, like I said, this is the turning point, and this is where it's like, well, there's no turning back. Like, this is it.
The last stand.
This is the last stand, basically. So yeah, this is like where he seals his fate, effectively. So it is quite sad.
Just punching, kicking, and when we were speaking about the bathhouse fight scene in Eastern Promises, this is just another level. I mean, that is an incredible scene because it's so wide in Eastern Promises. This one's a little different. This one's quite different.
This is very different. There's a lot more, I guess there's a lot more meaning behind this in Bronson than I say maybe there is in Eastern Promises. Eastern Promises, it's more a moment that's just like, it's keen on, like, survival, and it's a fight sequence, and you've got, like, you've got your heavy gangster and stuff like that, and he's like trying to survive to continue the story, basically. In this case, it's a little bit more balletic, it's a little bit more graceful, but it also has a lot more meaning and weight behind, like, the actual truth behind the story. So
after watching this again, it really makes me think that Tom Hardy might be the most nude man that we've covered so far, just in terms of screen time.
Naked to minute ratio. Yeah, probably.
Because when you watch that final scene, you go, gee whiz, this is quite a bit of nudity. And none of the nudity in this film has anything to do with anything sexual whatsoever at all.
No.
And I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. It's basically like, I'm pretty sure he's naked because he has less stuff for folk to grab onto.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it gets all
pretty much
slick.
Yeah. And that's not to say they're like, they're going to grab his dick. It's like, well, that's not really the case. It makes him a little bit more slippery if he's completely nude.
I don't think that the guards are going to do that anyway.
No, that'd be weird.
Twist his dick. Twist that dick.
Old dick twist. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They're not allowed to do that in fights. It's not very honorable. That or fish hooking, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not allowed to do that sort of thing.
Well, the last thing I had was kind of at the end. I already told you what the budget of the film was, which was £600,000. And as far as I could tell, the box office gross was $2 million, just over $2 million. So you don't need to know it by the dollar.
Success.
A success.
At the old box office.
They did it, and I'm sure it's made a
Yes.
lot more since then because it has acquired a bit of a cult following. And in the commentary, the man doing the commentary was saying, "Oh wow, this is where I'm sure a lot of people will get their screenshots." And I'm like, "My God, you really said that to the director?" Interesting.
Well, what was the screenshot in question, though? Like,
butter.
This is where they'll get... Oh, the butter.
Yeah.
The butter. Oh, okay. I see.
They were getting their naked screenshots of Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy does not care. The nudity for him was never something he had any qualms about. He was not nervous about it. He's just a dude who does his job.
I think the main thing comes down to the fact that, like, it's not so much that it's about a truthfulness towards the story. If you can get someone to do those scenes and they're not being truthful towards the character and the actual truth in the story, then it's
not for you.
It's not for you. Then that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do that.
Imagine Jason Statham though. Like if Jason Statham had really thrown himself into it.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the. Like he's here's the thing, like he's a great fighter, but he's way too graceful. He's like way too he's way too refined.
You don't think that he would sit around eating steaks and chicken and ruining his body because
to bulk up?
Yeah.
Probably, but I don't think Jason Statham doesn't have the same acting chops that like a Tom Hardy does.
No.
You know what
I mean? Tom Hardy said he ruined his body for this movie.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised.
He weighed more when he did Warrior, but that's because he was all muscle. This one, he goes, I had to be fat and muscle. He goes, I needed a brawler's body.
Yeah.
And that's what he got.
Yeah. It's like your dad's pal at the pub who likes to punch people.
It's really scary, yeah.
It's like that sort of look.
Yeah, if you want to know how to look like Bronson or look like Tom Hardy in this movie, you can either read Charles Bronson's book about working out, like you mentioned, or watch the Blu-ray comment. It might be on the DVD as well, but the Blu-ray commentary or the special features has a whole thing about it. How to work out in prison.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Or just go to prison.
Absolutely, yes. That is absolutely your choice as a human being to go to prison if you want.
Go rob the posties and then just become famous like Charlie Bronson did.
Yourself to jail.
Did Charles Bronson, like the actual actor Charles Bronson, like Death Wish Charles Bronson, did he ever attempt to try and sue Charlie Bronson at any point?
Not that I saw in any of my research, but that's not a particular question I looked up.
Yeah. I wonder if he tried to or not. But then I guess...
How are you going to sue a guy in jail?
I mean, I don't know. Take the cunt to court, because obviously that's how that works. I mean, at least you know where he is. I wonder if that was ever a thing. I was just curious, because that's the thing. Like he became well known off the back of an already quite well known like action movie star.
Well, at least by the time this film came out, the actor Charles Bronson had already passed away.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's correct.
So
he couldn't have done any suing, or his estate probably wouldn't even bother touching it. It's like they'll make the distinction. They, they'll remember Death Wish 4, and the countless other Charles Bronson movies that exist out there.
I think now is the time, unless you have anything else to add, I would like to ask you for your ratings on visibility and context.
Oh, well, visibility and context, I'm going to keep it real simple. Just say 5.
Absolutely.
And I don't even need to explain myself.
If you've seen this movie, which you should have, because I posted
Yeah.
it on our Instagram where you can watch it, and it's literally everywhere.
It's
It's
on
almost
fucking
as
Tubi,
it's
yeah.
almost as available, or might be as available as Stepfather.
You can literally watch Bronson for free.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can just watch it for free. Just
Tubi
get yourself,
forever.
Yeah, just get Tubi, and it's there, and it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, just watch it right now.
I already I watched it last night and I watched it this morning. I love this movie. It's on my top 4 now. Anyway, 5 stars, visibility and context. You get a guy who is naked for a reason, and it makes total sense. And they shot it as such. And Refn wasn't going to have anyone's bullshit about not getting naked for this movie. He's
Yeah.
like, Jason Statham, fuck you. Guy Pearce, fuck out of here. Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Guy Pearce, why don't you go and do some film called The Hurt Locker or something?
Yeah,
that
get out of here.
Wins the Oscar for Best Picture and is actually a cracking film, and you're only in it for the first 5 minutes. But anyway, doesn't matter.
5 stars. I don't know. It's
Well, Jason Statham's done all right. He didn't need Bronson.
I love the Meg part 2.
Well, I thought
That's
like
not a joke.
Fast and Furious, Beekeeper.
Oh, a beekeeper.
There's so many.
He sounds so many.
Well, he just talks real slowly. Like he's got a little softness in his voice.
Okay, rate the film, Ryan.
4.5.
Why half?
So
What is wrong? Why isn't it perfect? Tell me.
Well, I don't think Bronson is perfect. I really don't. There's a couple of little things in it that I don't particularly like. And I just, there's just that. I compare it a lot to Chopper. Chopper's 5 stars for me. Bronson is a 4.5. I've seen Bronson twice, and the second time I saw it was last night. So, and to be honest, I kind of forgotten about most of Bronson. So, you know, I like it. I like it a lot, and I like it because Refn's, I think Refn's done better work since Bronson, but yeah, there's something in it that I can't pin down, but it gets 4.5 for me personally. So,
Okay, that's fine. I'm not too mad about it. I gave it 5 stars. I love this movie a lot. I think it looks great. You're not wrong, Tom Hardy. This is like a career level high. He is incredible. He's in his element. He goes for it. He gets the accent down. He gets the movements down. He's amazing in this film, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he was so fascinated by Charles Bronson at the beginning. Refn came in, he goes, I don't know anything. Tom Hardy's like, hell yeah, I know this. Give it to me.
yeah.
I'm going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
5 stars.
Yeah, because it's like, it is a career best, but I also kind of feel like I'm thinking about other things that Tom Hardy has been in and stuff like that. Like, I wish he went back to doing stuff more like this.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully Venom's like done, and we don't have to
Yeah.
ever see another one of those fucking things again.
The fact that those movies span like what, actual 10 years or something like that from when they started making a Venom to
insane.
now.
Yeah, it's
and
insane.
then the story itself is only supposed to be within a year. And I'm like, Tom Hardy looks completely different.
Yeah,
He was like a little baby when they started making Venom.
yeah.
And if you look at the behind the scenes of Tom Hardy for this film, he also looks like a little baby.
Yeah, no, he's definitely younger.
He doesn't get enough credit for like these body transformations that he's able to achieve.
I guess, yeah. I mean, that's the one thing about Dark Knight Rises is that he's even bigger in that movie.
Yeah, traps for days. What does he do? His
I've no
traps
idea.
are huge.
Yeah, well, he doesn't give a fuck. I mean, Dark Knight Rises is a terrible film,
Correct.
but at least like he looks cool as Bane. The minute he opens his fucking mouth, it's just like, and it's like, oh no, fuck this. Terrible Bane. But yeah, he's big.
He's big.
He's a big boy in those movies. But yeah, no, I think he knocks out the fucking park with this one.
Yeah.
Honestly, so
And this is why we're here for Tom's Giving on this November episode. There will be another.
there will be another.
We're going to go slightly back in time for the next one, but it's a good one anyway.
Yeah,
Not as violent. Well, yeah, it's a little violent.
I've not seen it, so we will find out.
What a treat! And
Yes.
everyone else will find out soon what it is.
Yes.
And, well, make sure to follow us on social media, on Letterboxd. You can find all that information on our Instagram, which is at onthebeat, BITTE. And that's it. I hope everyone's having a nice November and Tom's Giving, and coming to you from a not so solitary confinement, aka our podcasting room. I have been Laura.
You fucking what?
You sit down, you fucking cunt.
You in the fucking cars, or you can't.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He does actually say you fucking what? Like when the teacher starts speaking Spanish. He's like, you fucking what? And then, yeah, because that's a Danny Dyer thing. Yeah. You fucking what? Yeah, goodbye.
Yeah.